right, there you have it, the drama and a whole lot more. Let's bring in Bokang Phelane to speak to us about her experience in this production. She played the lead role of Princess Zazi. Bokang, thanks very much for your time. Welcome very much to the AM Report. Lerata drama, but like I said to you off air, we love it too. It's very different, isn't it? You know, it's certainly something we haven't seen on South African screens, and I'm sure that's come with its own set of anxiety. How did you feel when they asked you to be part of this production?
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here. I was very excited. I mean, this is a role of a dream for me. I think for any actor really to get to work with Jamil, to get to tell a story of this nature, and obviously to see the rest of the cast is just really professionals of a really high nature, and just the magnitude of the set and the world, it was just very exciting for me.
Yeah, and you speak about some of the people you had to act alongside. We'll chat about that in just a moment, but an overarching theme is around this issue of African mythology. And for most of us, we kind of start thinking about Obosangoma, spirituality, bewitchment, etc., etc. What's your relationship with that, and how did it affect your role, or at least how you executed your role?
You know, I'm so glad that you said that when most people think about African mythology, Banahana Kabosangoma and all of that stuff, because it's so much broader than that. You know, most Africans, we can only tell our history as far back as our tribal history. You know, some can tell it as far back as maybe the Southern African history to DRC and where we come from, but everything else really about our history is shrouded in so much mystery and so much mistelling that this is a great opportunity for us to actually tell our history from our perspective instead of it being led by sort of like the victor, which is not us in terms of history, the victor's perspective, essentially.
And what are some of the misconceptions that you found were being debunked as you were part of this production? I imagine, of course, a whole lot of research went into your characterization process, and I imagine that process came with a lot of learning.
It really did. So for me, it was, like I just said previously, a lot of the history that I knew about my people was very limited to a very short space of time. But this series forced me to research beyond as far as me being Sotho, to go to even learn about Kemet and stuff like that. So a lot of things that we just didn't know, we just didn't even know that were attributed to us as Africans. Really, I got to really discover that this is who we are.
So let's talk about your character with a bit more detail. You play Princess Zazi. What's her story? What's popping? Why does she matter in this narrative?
Princess Zazi's story matters because she finds herself in a life where the world that she has been born to and known is headed towards a change. They're facing a prophecy that could lead them all to damnation. And it is set upon her shoulders to guide her people out of this damning prophecy and out of just history and legacies of war, and basically to try to stop people from getting into yet another cycle of self-destruction, which I find as human beings, if you observe us now, we're sort of perpetually stuck in these cycles of self-destruction.
So Leila Swart says, you know, this is a production that has all the makings of great television. And you just already alluded to the big names that you're part of, but also the big set that you're working on. Again, we don't often see that in South African television. Take us through how you navigated that unfamiliar side, because, you know, even for experienced actors, it's not often that they get to work on sets like that.
Yes. I think I was very lucky in the sense that I was involved in the production through quite early stages. So yes, when I got on set, everything was huge and everything was brand new and shiny, but I was very familiar in the sense that throughout every stage, I was sort of involved and I saw everything develop. But it's been such an honor to just watch something like this come together. I mean, just in terms of the art department world, for example, they've built a whole citadel world. It looks fantastic. It looks like we've just taken a piece of Egypt and just dropped it right in the middle of Gauteng, and it's really quite amazing. And for me, it really broadened my mind about how large the film industry actually is. You know, it's a very large industry, and I don't think a lot of people know. I think in 2018 it was maybe the third largest contributor to the South African GDP. It makes about 5.2 billion a year, contributes about 5.2 billion a year to South Africa. So it's been a very educating experience, very humbling, but also an opportunity for me to realize that this industry is quite huge and its capacity and its potential is quite large.
Mm-hmm. And it's a 10-part series. Quite briefly, take us through what that means for you as an actor. In other words, what does a typical day look like for an actor that's playing a lead in a 10-part series of this scale?
It's very hectic, but I feel like it being sort of like this sort of long format, a 10-part series, it's lovely that way because it gives you as an actor, as a performer, time to really like live within the world, really expand within the world, really grow within the world, and really just find all the nuances within it. It has meant very early call times. It's meant shooting out in the exteriors, in the cold, in the night. It's just been an adventure. It's been action stunts. It's really been just an adventure and a lovely experience.
All right. And then, Bokang, before I let you go, between you and me, I promise you no one else is listening. What's the plot twist of the story?
I will never tell. You just have to tune in. You really have to tune in to see all the big highlights. And it's definitely something that's worth tuning in. It's got a lot of drama, it's got a lot of action, it's got romance, and it's got a beautiful telling of history from our perspective. We're going to get to see ourselves as we truly are, as our glory really is. So, yeah, that's about all I'm going to give for free.
Okay. They can't crucify me for trying. Thanks very much for coming to chat to us. Certainly appreciate your insights and your time. That there is Bokang Phelane, who is one of the actresses in this production, a South African production that tells the story of our own very African narrative. Thanks very much indeed to Bokang.